Thank you very much, Nian, and it's a pleasure to be joining you. I'm here in London today. It's great to join you. Let me first share my presentation. First hitch. I thought it would appear here. Just one second. And if the organizers want to help me, and
you're doing a great job there, Hala. No worries.
Here it is. Yay. Can you see?
It's just coming up now. Yes. If you go to presenter mode, they're lovely. And we can see it and we can hear you. Thank you.
Super. Let me go at the beginning. Okay. So as Nian has just introduced me, you can tell I'm not going to talk to you about science or microbiology because my background is as a boring lawyer. This is how I started my professional life. And then I joined government service in the Treasury in the UK in 2008 and became a British civil servant doing policy, and I got the bug of public health in 2014 when I had the chance of heading the team that delivered the UK review on antimicrobial resistance. It was very much a project of Sally Davies at the time, chaired by Jim O'Neill. I don't know if some of you might have heard about it or not, but really that was the first time that I had the opportunity to apply economics thinking, government policy thinking, to a problem of global health. And I like to think that we made a difference and we had an impact at the time, and that there's a really rich sort of way of thinking here about the thorniest issues in global health, bringing other disciplines. And bringing a bit of sort of government and public-private partnership thinking into it. So that's really the focus of my talk today. And I will do this in two parts, and I promise I won't use more than 20 minutes. I will first talk a bit about the Trinity Challenge because it's a new organization, so I think it's worth explaining a little bit who we are and what we do. And then I'll try and tease out those reflections that I'm making from the Trinity Challenge and the work that we started, really to think hard about global health reform, you know, what governments and heads of states are about to decide, working with the global health community, and how we can help work with the scientific community so that we sort of fast forward the best ideas. So how do we... How do we make sure we do better now and next time? So that's very much the challenge we gave ourselves in the Trinity Challenge. And the idea came to my current boss, who some of you might know, Sally Davies, Professor Sally Davies, who's now the head of the master at Trinity College in Cambridge. And what she did is bring together a coalition of members from the public, the private, and the academic sectors to work on using data-driven research and analytics to better protect the world against the next health, to do better this time and better protect against future health emergencies. Can I just check, because I can't see anyone, can I just check that this is still working and everybody can see my slides?
Yes, it is.
Cool, perfect. Okay, thank you. So one of the exciting parts of the Trinity Challenge is the breadth and the diversity of people it brings around the same table to work together on the same problems. And so we have founding members from across the academia, private sector, and public sector, as you can see on this slide. Our founding members are those members who either contribute, some of them contribute financially to the fund the prize that we're going to award in June. But most importantly, what this group does is really steer the challenge towards identifying what are the thorniest, most important questions of our time that we should focus on. And then beyond the founding members, we have a very broad coalition of members who don't have as much directional input into our governance and steering us, but they are the key, they're sort of the engine room for the collaborations and the thinking that we're doing within the Trinity Challenge. And again, these members, they come from across big tech, small tech, startups, pharma, financial services and insurance, the great sort of global delivery organization, charitable organizations, and of course our academic members who are driving all the thinking. So that's who we are. Now, what do we do? We're founded really on 3 principles that I think are hard to argue with, and I'm sure these don't feel very new to this room today. But I think they're, you know, however much we talk about them, they are not that well implemented. So first, acting early is key to pandemic preparedness. We all know that, and it's cheaper and easier to do it. Yet, as you know, for 40 billion annually that go into global health development assistance, only 370 million go to investing in the kind of surveillance, you know, and risk and spillover risk surveillance that we know is so needed. The second principle that we act on is this notion that we don't want a world where, you know, when we talk about digital health, we don't mean the health data. We really mean bringing together data sets from across health, behaviors, social science, and economics to really inform decisions that are made on public health. And again, that's sort of easy to say, but in reality, we see a lot of continued silos, basically, and not that much connect between, say, economics and public health or epidemiology. This was really clear recently when, so before I joined in December, I was working in the Treasury in the UK, and there was really a cry from policymakers, from ministers to join up more what we understood about the epidemiology of the disease with what we understood of the economic impact, the behaviors, the social impact. But the two communities, you know, they have started coming together now, but the two communities, and certainly the two sort of pools of information and data didn't join up from epidemiology to economics and economic impact, not nearly enough. The third principle on which we're founded is something that a lot of people talk rightly about at the moment, which is we need to embrace the potential of digital technology and data, but we need to do it in a way that will be trusted and will be affordable and scalable so that it benefits the society at large. And the way we go at it in the Trinity Challenge, and I'll try to talk about it a bit more at the end, is that it is right to be worried about the disruption that can come from some of these digital tools and the data. It is right to be very cognizant of the disruption, but it is not right for governments, the public sector, to not sort of embrace the disruption and manage it for the public good. And in order to do that, we don't think there's a way to sort of separate the sector, separate academia, the public sector, the private sector from each other. It's going to have to come through a certain amount of collaboration. So that's the sort of founding principles that this coalition that you saw is working on. Why are we doing this now? Again, the answer is not surprising. We need to act fast because there's obvious urgency. There's also a tactical reason to act fast, and I say this with my experience working in government. I do hope the world will manage to turn the corner of this pandemic sooner than later. But I also know that once we have turned that corner, as with every crisis that wanes, attention will wane. It won't be on the top of everybody's agenda in the way that it is now. And I think that's something that's really important for us to understand in the science community, in the public health community, and in the policymaking community. Now is our time, and we need to act fast. And I'll talk a bit about those short feedback loops that we really want to see in the Trinity Challenge. The second reason why now is that COVID has already changed how the world works. I'd be really interested in comments and a discussion later, but I think from where I am in the UK, we've not seen, and from what I read about the rest of the world, we've not seen that level of private to private or private to public collaboration that we've seen during the COVID pandemic. And that certainly has allowed breakthroughs. The ones that we're really excited about in the Trinity Challenge are all to do with data and surveillance and really interesting techniques to use network science and sort of artificial societies forecasting. But the obvious examples to the public will be the collaborations on vaccines, the collaborations on some of the testing apps, for better or for worse. The level of collaboration that we've seen and openness is new, and we want to use it. Finally, the third thing to say is that COVID was a jolt to the system, and we've been talking about digital health for years and years and years. This is not new, but there is really a push now and the right level of coalition at the right senior level to really do something with the disruption that this brings, so that we can lend it in a way that benefits the public good and over the long term. Okay, so that's probably more than enough about what we do and why we do it. A little bit on how. So within that brand coalition that I showed you, we set up a small secretariat team and a small team within the charity that we established in the UK, of whom I'm the first chief executive officer. We have 4 excellent trustees and leading us. And the sort of 3 activities that we work on to advance our public purpose, our charitable purpose, are: number 1, we are setting up a public challenge to reward the best ideas from anyone, anywhere. And we are, I'm going to go to, sorry, I'm going to swap to this slide, which gives you a little bit more about our challenge. So this is the crazy timeline that I joined our organization to set up and meet, and I can say I think we are going to manage. So our competition is now open. We will close on the 15th of April, and we are working to have judging and awards in June 2021. The questions that are put to everyone anywhere to answer are: how do we better identify, respond to, and recover from health emergencies? So this is on the right of my screen here. There is much more information on our website. I encourage you to apply and have a look at what's there. The prizes are of significant sizes, and it's not just the monetary reward that should be attractive, it's also the opportunity to collaborate really closely with the range of partners that you saw in the coalition. And I'm sure we'll all have access to this. I'm going to go very quickly, but we have a challenge first town hall next week on February the 24th, and this slide gives you the link to join us if you'd like to. So that's going back to my how slide. This is the first thing that we do. We organize public challenges to reward the best ideas, find ideas that are scalable, practical, that will provide the kind of digital tools that can be global public goods in order to better identify, respond to, and recover from future health emergencies. And I have to say that keeps us quite busy, having raised the funding and setting it up now. But we also do have 2 other activities. The second one is really important, and colleagues on the call, including from Northeastern and another number of universities, have been amazing at driving these. They are focused collaborations on specific questions, mostly for now questions asked by the COVID-19 pandemic, where we bring this cross-disciplinary, cross-fertilization methodology to address these very tough questions. So some are to do with, can we have novel ways of doing surveillance that mixes the sort of traditional and really important microbiology and epidemiological work with data tools such as mobility data, social media chatter, sensors from sewage systems, and how do you build systems that will give you a level of surveillance in terms of predictive ability, but also cost and speed that is better than what we have now. So that's a big focus of some of our collaborations. Other are focused on vaccine confidence and the use of social behavior and messaging and social media platform to increase confidence. Another example is on network science, but I'm a bit wary of talking too much about this given Alessandro is speaking after me, and I'm sure he'll cover that much better. The third activity that we do in the Trinity Challenge is around promoting a better data ecosystem. So this is working with partners, including, for instance, the Patrick McGovern Foundation and the Gaia Coalition and many others, to really get to the specific meaning of what are these trusted, safe tools that will make the digital health ambition real and achieve the radical long-term health benefits that we all want to see. So this is how we do our work. These are the three things that we do. And I just wanted to end up with a few reflections here. And because really the question that was put to me very kindly and clearly was, but how do we, the scientific community, the science community, work with government to really get to better preparedness, do better next time? And I think, global public health is not easy. Global public health reform and funding is always complicated. And it's partly because it's just difficult science. It's partly because it's political. It's definitely a collective action problem that cannot be solved by one actor alone or one country alone. And so this makes it complicated. But I have to say, so I'm always an optimist. And what I want to say is, it's not easy, but we have a system to do it. There is a global architecture of global public health, and it takes recommendations from eminent groups and organizations, including many of you who work in academic institutions, who recommend and do the research to find a way forward.
Hala, we have two more minutes. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And then it gets decided, and then it gets funded, and then it gets implemented. The good examples around this are the creation of the Global Fund, the creation of Gavi or UNITAID in the early 2000s. Another really striking example is ACTE and COVAX and the amazing work that the global community is doing now. So I think there is a way to do reform in global public health in a way that is actually radical and brings long-term benefits. The problem right now, and my worry, is that if we don't feed new ideas that are very specific into that system, I worry that the system will just decide and recommend what it was doing 10 years ago, and COVID won't bring the level of change that we need. So what do I mean more specifically? I think in terms of data and digital tools, we need new ideas that really are focused on colliding data science and public health to bring forward more affordable ideas. And we can talk about this during the Q&A around, what do we mean by that? What is emerging as the most promising? We also need shorter feedback loops so that, we're not working in parallel silos and in sequence. And that's very much what the Trinity Challenge wants to do, to shorten that feedback loop. And then we also definitely need to use insights from across disciplines and be much more cross-disciplinary. So I will stop here and just pose a question around, we think we have promising results already in the few months that, we've worked, and many others have worked in that field. We're not the only one. How do we embed this and create a long-term cross-fertilization with the science community, with the NSF and others? I think there what we really want to do is generate these ideas and then bring them to these fora in a way that is organized and regular, and have perhaps annual meetings or a way to really organize the cross-fertilization and the dissemination of the ideas that we think will be generated.
Hala, thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated. Perfect timing, and a round of applause to you from all of us here. Thank you very much indeed.